Greetings everyone and welcome to Spacing Out. I'm Jason McClellan.
And I'm Maureen. Thanks for joining us.
We're here to get you caught up on some of the UFO stories that have made headlines recently, so let's get to it.
Witnesses photographed a triangle-shaped UFO in the sky above Amarillo, Texas on Monday, March 10th.
Defense technology blog Aries on the Aviation Week website explains that the craft was photographed by both Steve Douglas and Dean Muscat. This mysterious object was reportedly accompanied by two other craft. According to Aviation Week's defense expert Bill Sweetman, Douglas, who monitors aircraft radio communications, picked up some apparently related voice traffic, suggesting that the unidentified aircraft were piloted rather than remote controlled.
Sweetman believes the photographed UFO is likely a classified military plane. He explains, "The photos tell us more about what the mysterious stranger isn't than what it is. The size is very hard to determine. For example, although the image size at contrailing height suggests that it is bigger than an X-47B, however, the basic shape, while it resembles Boeing's blended wing body studies or the Swift Killer B Northrop Grumman Bat Unmanned Air System, is different from anything known to have flown at full size, lacking the notched trailing edge of Northrop Grumman's full-size designs."
So, like the Metro speculates, as the U.S. Air Force are unlikely to be forthcoming with information, the flying objects will almost certainly remain unidentified. Probably not aliens, though. Sorry.
Two Italian journalists scoured newly declassified files of the Italian Air Force in order to find the most interesting UFO files for their new book, UFOs, the Italian Dossier.
Italian journalists Lau Petrelli and Vincenzo Sinapi say they looked through thousands of documents to find UFO reports from all over Italy. They say reports came in from all types of people, including airline pilots, jet fighter pilots, the police, military, and even priests.
The files were previously stamped as secret or confidential and have been saved for reference in regards to flight safety. They say many of the files were previously unpublished. Petrelli and Sinapi say they did not evaluate the sightings, they just present the facts. However, the sightings are of cases that have thus far gone unexplained.
A doodle of a UFO made by John Lennon in 1974 was auctioned off a couple weeks ago, and it went for nearly 10 times more than expected.
The UFO drawing by Lennon fits the description of a UFO he says he saw in New York with his then-girlfriend May Pang that same year. Lennon's UFO sighting took place in New York during his self-described lost weekend, a period from the summer of 1973 to early 1975, which he spent with Pang while estranged from his wife Yoko Ono.
During that time, Lennon completed several albums, including Walls and Bridges, and it's on an acetate album sleeve for Walls and Bridges that Lennon doodled his UFO. According to Lennon, he saw the UFO on August 23, 1974, from his apartment on 52nd Street in New York City. He claimed the round object was just 100 yards away from him.
Around the bottom of the craft, he saw ordinary-looking electrical light bulbs blinking on and off, alternatively like a billboard or something. A red light was on top of the UFO and the craft was completely silent. The sighting lasted 5 to 10 minutes before the UFO moved away along the East River.
The sleeve with the doodle was auctioned off on Friday, March 21st. It was expected to fetch between $1,600 and $2,500, but it actually went for more than $16,000.
AMC announced that Chris Carter, best known for creating the science fiction drama The X-Files, is now attached to a dramatic television series about the notorious top-secret military installation known as Area 51.
The network ordered a pilot episode for the series back in July 2012, and at that time it was announced that the series would be based on a book titled Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top-Secret Military Base by Annie Jacobson. Judging by AMC's recently announced slate of new programming, that basis has not changed, but the project is reportedly now officially moved into development.
The Hollywood Reporter describes the series as a contemporary conspiracy thriller revealing the true story behind the infamous Area 51, America's most mysterious military installation. And the working title for the series is simply Area 51.
Carter is coming aboard the show as its writer and executive producer. He joins The Walking Dead executive producer Galen Hurd, who is already attached to the project. Jacobson's 2011 book is controversial because she makes many questionable assertions. Most notably is the inclusion of an explanation for what crashed near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947.
And that it was a flying, circular-shaped aircraft. It was not from Mars, it was from Russia. And it was actually originally a Third Reich design. So this flying disc, according to the engineer from EG&G, was something that had crashed in New Mexico, and the intent was for it to be a hoax.
She claims an anonymous witness informed her that the craft recovered at Roswell was actually an advanced German aircraft, and that the bodies recovered from the crash were children that had been mutilated by the infamous Nazi doctor Josef Mengele. This craft was allegedly ordered over to the U.S. by Joseph Stalin, hoping to trick Americans into thinking it was an extraterrestrial spacecraft, which would result in a mass panic similar to the one caused by the 1938 radio broadcast of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds.
It was originally announced that Jacobson would serve as a co-producer of the show. There's been no word about whether that's still the case as the show moves into full development. And Maureen, I've got to say, I hope that her role, if it still exists with this show, is minor, and that the series is just loosely based on the book. And I think with Carter coming aboard, I don't know, I'm optimistic that he'll take some liberties with changing it.
I think this is still going to be a cool show no matter what.
Right.
I mean, we have to remember it's a fictional drama, and with The Walking Dead, it's like all the right cooks are in the kitchen, so to speak. So I'm looking forward to it. I bet there'll be pieces of the story that are sure to piss us off, but I think for the majority it'll be intriguing at least.
Well, and with Carter at the helm and certainly in a writing role, I don't know, I think there's a good chance that the extraterrestrial element will be added there.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, let's talk about this triangle UFO over Texas, because that made so many headlines during the past week, and lots of speculation as to what this could be. You know, we have people who are very familiar with military aircraft and aircraft that are currently being worked on, speculating about what they saw. Now, I don't know what they saw visually with their eyes and how much they're basing their opinions on that, or the photographs they took. But, you know, judging on the photographs alone, it's really hard to make out the shape. I mean, it does look like a strange triangle. Mm-hmm. But again, this is a very grainy photo that's blown up a lot to see that shape. And we know from seeing a lot of photos that when you zoom in on a photo that much and what you're seeing in the sky, there are a lot of different elements at play here that can affect what the true shape is. You're not really getting an accurate representation most times.
And I think that the main thing about this photo is to stress that, yes, it is most likely military aircraft. It's not some mysterious extraterrestrial triangle craft coming through on this one. And other than that, I do like that the sighting came from people who went in so in depth with what they saw, that they heard it on this, you know, monitoring system they had. And
yeah, listening to radio chatter, that's big too, to help potentially rule out remote controlled object. Some people suggested it could be, you know, something like a B-2, a craft that's currently in flight. The people who saw it then responded and said, I don't think so. And I think they settled on the conclusion that it's most likely some sort of stealth transport system to transport troops to other countries without being detected. Again, it's a lot of speculation, but it's interesting. Most likely,
failed their detection here.
Yeah, that's right. Not so stealthily, is it? We just saw it, and it's all over the news. Yeah. But most likely man-made.
Yeah.
So. But it's an interesting sighting, interesting photos, and it was a cool story to follow as it developed. We record Spacing Out early in the week, then publish the episodes at the end of the week. But we're inserting a quick update into this episode to mention a story that generated substantial headlines this week. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton appeared on the late-night talk program Jimmy Kimmel Live on the night of Wednesday, April 2nd. Kimmel asked Clinton if he looked into the UFO issue during his tenure as president.
When the Roswell thing came up, I knew we'd get, you know, gazillions of letters. So I had all the Roswell papers reviewed, everything.
If you saw that there were aliens there, would you tell us?
Yeah.
You would?
I would. Well, I think, look, what do we know? We know now we live in an ever-expanding universe. We know that there are billions of stars and planets literally out there, and the universe is getting bigger. We know from our fancy telescopes that just in the last 2 years, more than 20 planets have been identified outside our solar system that seem to be far enough away from their suns and dense enough that they might be able to support some form of life.
Oh, you're trying to give me a hint that there are aliens.
No, I'm trying to tell you I don't know. Oh. But if we were visited someday, I wouldn't be surprised.
All of this certainly isn't the first time Clinton has discussed UFOs. His response to the questions posed were interesting, and they definitely generated a buzz, resulting in headlines from nearly every major media outlet. For more information about Bill Clinton and what he's previously said about UFOs, check out our recent article about the former president at openminds.tv. But that is all for this episode of Spacing Out. Remember, you can visit our website, openminds.tv, for all the latest news. And if you're a podcast listener, we've got a great podcast called Open Minds UFO Radio. So go to openminds.tv/radio and check that out.
And make sure to click on the like button if you enjoyed today's show and subscribe to our channel so you know when we upload new content. Thanks again for joining us today. I'm Maureen Ellsbury.
And I'm Jason McClellan. We will see you in the future.
If you have a UFO sighting or something you would like to report to Open Minds, you can go to our website at openminds.tv and click the contact button to send us your request. Or you can email us at contact@openminds.tv. You can also call us at 1-877-UFO-0110. That's 1-877-836-0110.